Hello, and welcome to Amazing History Stories. Today, we are going to highlight the Barbary Wars. If you were a student in the United States like me, more than likely you did not learn much about the Moors and the Barbary Wars. It is a fascinating era in world history. It is unbelievable that this material is not covered in schools in detail. I hope you have already watched the previous 6 episodes we published here about the Moors. If not, I strongly suggest that you watch those first to catch up. Then you will be able to fully appreciate what is happening in this episode. It is the latter part of the 18th century. The Moors and Ottomans have nearly reigned supreme over the Mediterranean Sea for over 300 years at this point. These pirate-infested waters were a dangerous place for the Christians. Even though the Portuguese took the long way to the east around southern Africa and the Spanish focused on the Americas, many countries continued to trade through the Mediterranean Sea. One of those countries was no other than the United States of America. North Africa was collectively referred to as the Barbary Coast, but this area consisted of numerous North African countries, which many were aligned with the Ottoman Empire. Only Morocco was able to maintain its independence from the Ottoman Caliphate. Once upon a time, the Muslims and Christians had a relationship that was not so contentious. After the Arabs, Africans, Persians, and Levantines became Muslim, they rose up against European occupation and imperialism. The Byzantines, Romans, and Vandals were eventually ejected from the Levant in North Africa. Then, the Muslims and Christians stabilized trade relations with each other. In fact, the historical records show numerous examples of how Christian European countries had diplomatic relations with the Muslims. The English and other European countries had citizens travel to Moorish Spain, particularly Cordoba, to learn the latest scientific developments. Additionally, the Greek histories were lost to Europe until the Moors translated them into Arabic, then to different European languages in Moorish Spain. As an unofficial historian, my guess, based on the historical record, suggests that the tension started with the Crusades and built up over time. To be fair, the Moors had conquered, occupied, and ruled European territory for centuries. Despite the remarkable coexistence and advancements in civilization, there were native Spaniards who saw Moorish Spain as an occupation. The Crusades were about the Christians versus the Muslims, so that also played out in Anatolia, where the Turks fought with the Byzantines. This led to the Ottoman Empire conquering Constantinople and invading Eastern Europe. I believe the Christians' loss of the historic Roman Empire capital set off alarms to all of Christian Europe. The Pope, in turn, recommended that the Spanish to resume the Reconquista. Additionally, the Pope urged other Christians to assist the Spanish. Meanwhile, the United States likely just wanted to engage in trade with both sides, but were probably deemed an ally to their European brethren. The Barbary pirates primarily sailed from several important North African ports. These were Tunis, Algiers, Tripoli, and Tangier. They would capture Christian ships, confiscate the cargo, and enslave the crews. Many captured Christians could regain their freedom if their families or countries would pay ransoms for their safe return. Otherwise, these captured Christians would roll large pirate ships or find their way to the Barbary coast as slave labor. There is a concept to remember during ancient history. There are never permanent enemies, only permanent self-interests. The Moroccans were once allies with the British, but something happened, and they were at odds with each other. Another concept that applies is that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So, the Moroccans became allies with the newly emerging nation, the United States. During the American Revolutionary War, Moroccan Sultan Mohammed III provided safe haven to the United States. The Moroccan-American Treaty of Friendship followed, and this treaty is the oldest consistent treaty the United States ever entered. Although the Moroccans' friendship treaty was good news for the United States, Morocco counted for only one country on the Barbary coast. The United States still had to deal with Algiers, Tunis, and Tripoli. During the Revolutionary War, the Barbary pirates realized that American vessels were no longer under the protection of the British. The Barbary pirates would seize American ships in the Mediterranean. The U.S. had no navy to fight against the Barbary pirates, so agreed in 1786 to pay tribute to stop the attacks. However, the first president of the United States, George Washington, urged Congress to authorize the building of a navy to fight against the Barbary pirates. The United States had signed treaties with all of the Barbary states after its independence. Additionally, the United States agreed to pay tribute in exchange for the Barbary pirates leaving American merchant ships alone. The United States had paid out $1.25 million, or a fifth of the government's annual budget, then in tribute. In fact, the U.S. was in arrears of substantial tribute payments to Algiers and Tripoli at the turn of the century. In the 1800 presidential election, Thomas Jefferson won against incumbent second President John Adams, partially due to his strong stance against paying financial tribute to the Barbary coast. President Jefferson noted that the United States were being humiliated by paying an enormous tribute to the pirates of North Africa. After Thomas Jefferson became president of the U.S. in March 1801, he sent a U.S. naval fleet to the Mediterranean to combat the Barbary pirates. The fleet bombarded numerous fortified cities in present-day Algeria, Tunisia, and Libya. The United States forced the Barbary Coast nations to grant the U.S. safe sails through the Mediterranean. This essentially ended the First Barbary War. However, President James Madison, Jefferson's successor, directed military forces against the Barbary states in the Second Barbary War. Lasting only 3 days, the second conflict ended the need for further tributes by the United States, granted the U.S. full shipping rights in the Mediterranean Sea, and significantly reduced incidents of piracy in the region. The historical figures, events, and places have been woven into a riveting fictional story in the book The Moors in Spain, when Arab and African Muslims led the world. The book is available on Amazon.com. Goodbye for now. See you in the next episode of Amazing History Stories. You don't want to miss the beginning of our most influential Muslims in history series. We will highlight a different Muslim who made an enormous impact on the Muslim community and the world. Our first episode shows 10 incredible Muslims